Hi, and welcome to this edition of PLMA Live. I'm Jodi Daley, and with me at the news desk is PLMA President Brian Sharoff. Hello, Brian. Well, understanding who are today's shoppers is as basic as it gets. Whether you're a retailer who owns a store or a manufacturer who makes products that retailers sell, there's no surer way to commit commercial suicide than to misjudge the customers for your products.
You know, it's getting more and more complicated to understand just who are today's shoppers. Some surveys have shown that men now make up a significant percentage of customers. Others emphasize time-pressured working women as the prototypical shopper.
Well, with so much at stake in retailing's incredibly competitive environment, especially for store brands, PLMA thought it would be useful to find out more about who is today's primary shopper and what retailers are doing to be responsive.
So, PLMA commissioned GfK Roper, one of the largest public opinion gatherers in the world, to help us get the answers. Their report included a few surprises, too. Joe Azzanaro, who served as PLMA's senior researcher on the study, joins us from California. Joe, what did the GfK study tell you about the U.S. market?
Brian, I think the biggest surprise we found in the study that today's women in America, while they have become so involved and successful in business, education, and government, they're still basically the dominant force when it comes to grocery shopping, as well as managing the American household.
Do they shop differently today than, say, 30 years ago?
You know, despite the pressure of job and children, and in many cases career, women today actually take a great deal of time in the store, and they're very diligent when it comes to preparing a shopping list, clipping coupons, and browsing for deals. They're quite serious about their shopping.
Is meal preparation still important?
I think it's more important, particularly with respect to the difficult economic conditions these days. Cooking at home has become a big deal. And again, women are still in charge, particularly in charge of the kitchen. More than 80% of the 1,000 or so women in the study said they are the principal preparer of meals for the household. And nearly 2/3 of them said that they prepare and serve their family at least 5 meals a week at home. What they prepare at home varies, but the number one choice by far is a meal made using fresh ingredients.
Joe, I thought more men were becoming shoppers for their family. Isn't that true?
Well, not entirely true, at least not according to our study. We have seen from other sources a steady flow of reports and studies that contend that American men have become a more conspicuous presence in the store. And while that may be anecdotally correct, our research says there's a lot of ground to make up for men before they're even close to being equal partners with women when it comes to shopping for their family.
How do men and women compare as shoppers?
They're quite different, Brian, by significant margins when we ask a series of questions about shopping habits ranging from making lists to browsing in the store to clipping coupons. Women are far more likely to do all of those things than men. And they also spend considerably more time in the store. They're more inclined to compare prices on items they need, and they're more inclined to choose the brand, the size, and the item that saves them the most money. They look for products beyond those on their list. And in general, they get new ideas and menus when they do browse the store. So the differences between the two are still pretty significant.
Well, so women still dominate the aisles of the supermarket, the drugstore, and the mass merchandiser. But how have women shoppers changed? Tim Simmons talked with James Russo of Nielsen about how the role of women as shoppers has changed.
James, Nielsen has completed a major study of women shoppers. What did your research find?
When we conducted the research, there was a dedicated focus to understand how women were shopping stores, and more importantly, the motivations to get them into the stores and how that changed once they were in the stores. The factors that really influence women, now this is specifically in the US, was first and foremost value, right? So the notion that having a strong value proposition for that retailer or for that product or service is incredibly important. Next was related to promotions. Beyond that, it was quality, convenience, and trust.
Does this emphasis on value come at the expense of quality?
One of the biggest ahas that we had from the study was the loyalty aspect, the component of what keeps a female shopper loyal to a product or service or retailer. Across 20 of 21 countries, across generations in the US, across each generation, and multicultural consumers, quality was the most important factor. And that's also a really important dynamic as well, because ultimately at the end of the day, we're looking for that holy grail, and that holy grail of loyalty is established through quality.
You mentioned multicultural shoppers. Is there really much of a difference between ethnic groups?
First, for African American, Hispanic, and Asian female consumers, a high level of optimism. 90% of them are saying that they're optimistic about the future. That's really important. The second component is their contribution to household income. Higher level expecting their contribution to household income to increase. Why that's really important, we look at purchase behavior. So, it's funny when we do this study, female shoppers view themselves as the primary purchasers across many product categories. And they want to share some responsibilities with their male counterpart and so on. But one category was different, food. If you look at African American, Hispanic, and Caucasian women, they view food purchases as their priority. That is their domain. I am the primary decision maker for their product categories, with the exception of Asian women, where they view shopping with the male as a joint responsibility. So again, we're looking for ways to create new opportunities. Understanding that dynamic is really important.
Nielsen's report says that social media has become the woman's Swiss Army knife. What does that mean?
Women approach social media very differently than men. One of the interesting findings that we had found is women look at social media to help make their lives better. Right? This starts to get to the component of a Swiss Army knife. The functional benefits, establishing communities, looking for answers in community groups and so on. Their approach to social media and the fact that they spend more time on fewer sites really paints a picture of a female shopper that is looking to social media, as I mentioned, to help make their lives better. And if you think about it from a marketer's perspective, as we all grapple with what's our social media strategy going to be and where our opportunity is going to be going forward, this really sits front and center within the social media platform with an incredibly important consumer segment of female shoppers.
Your research shows that there have been some important changes in the attitudes of women shoppers.
The opposite side, or the two-edged double-edged sword, if you will, is on one side you have the increasing level of optimism and aspiration and empowerment, but we also have seen within our survey increasing levels of stress. And that's understandable, wearing multiple hats, having a lot of responsibilities. So you think about what's the opportunity there? And the opportunity from a marketer's perspective is to help alleviate that stress, right? Whether it's through the use of social media or whether it's through the in-store experience, focusing on convenience. And we've been talking about convenience for 20 years, if not more, in terms of the retail experience having to be very convenient. But it is more important than ever to deliver on that high level of convenience to address the level of stress that we see occurring.
Thank you, James.
Have retailers satisfied the needs of today's women shoppers? Today's marketplace is now segmented, and the notion of doing all the shopping at one store has given way to shopping at many stores, not just to find the lowest prices, but shopping for different things at different stores. Len Lewis has this report.
Jodi, the needs of today's shoppers are very different from what they were 50 years ago, when my mother would go shopping at the little A&P around the corner and fill her two-wheeled cart with that week's specials. And that was the only grocery she went to. Convenience is still important, but one size no longer fits all. Research like multi-segment analysis, trip capture, and demographic studies all say that women are highly mobile shoppers whose destination depends on different needs at different times, prices, variety, and even store brands, which have become a key element to many shopping trips and can have a direct impact on the choice of stores. Back in the day, one-stop shopping was simply the result of very limited options. Today, a vast array of stores has given rise not only to mobile, but avid multi-channel, multi-format shoppers. So, if you ask whether retailers are satisfying today's women shoppers, the answer is yes. But it takes formats no one ever dreamed of 50 years ago.
What does it all mean for retailing? I asked Bryan Gildenberg, Chief Knowledge Officer at Kantar Retail, one of the savviest consultancies when it comes to strategic insight about retailing. Brian, what can we expect from retailers over the next few years?
It's a good question, and I think the basic theme that we look at is that retail growth is polarizing in the U.S., and it's polarizing quite quickly across a multitude of formats. So if we broke it down, I think what you'd see is about a third of all of the growth in the marketplace is going to come from fairly conventional retailers, the supermarkets, the mass outlets, and folks like that. I think about another third is going to come from non-traditional brick and mortar stores. The warehouse club stores, dollar stores, more specialty retail. And if you take the amount of growth that we project that those retailers are going to post over the next 5 years, it's about equal to the amount of growth that's going to come out of the classic formats of supermarket, mass, and drug. The remaining third, of course, is going to come from the online world, and a lot of that growth is going to come disproportionately from Amazon.com.
What would you say is the key to reaching consumers? I know you use the words consistency, intensity, and accuracy.
We believe that the retailer's brand needs to have 3 core attributes. Number 1 is consistency. So if you asked 100 people what that brand stood for, they would give you a vaguely similar answer. This is one of the reasons why Kroger, who is one of the dominant private label retailers in America from a share point of view, a lot of what they do is reflective, right? Because you ask 100 Kroger shoppers what Kroger is, you're going to get about 65 different answers back. So trying to build one product that hangs off that equity is really, really complicated. So to do that kind of premium, really upscale own label, I think a lot of that is dependent on the consistency of the brand. The second one is intensity. The retailers that do upmarket private label well tend to be really, really, really well liked by their consumers or loved. Passionately liked brands don't really get anywhere. I really like that beige. It's awesome. That's not going to be the brand strategy you want. And then the third one is accuracy, which is that when you ask the shoppers about the retailer brand and they answer you, they give you the right answer, right? So they actually describe what the retail experience is like. My favorite example of this was for years after Walmart had moved away from Made in America as a strategy because they were obviously doing things differently than that, shoppers still associated Walmart with Made in America. So that when Walmart tried to bring some of its own label to the marketplace, people were surprised to find it was made in China because they still thought of Walmart as the Made in America company. So you have to make sure that for what you're going to be famous for, that there's no dissonance between what you're actually doing and what the shopper thinks you're doing. So consistency, intensity, and accuracy. And if you've got those 3 things as a retailer, you're well positioned to be able to develop and deliver your own brand propositions in sort of a unique way.
So what have we learned from the GfK survey? We've learned that women will continue to dominate the shopping experience. We've learned that different formats will continue to be important to shoppers. And we've learned that store brands can play a crucial role if retailers and their suppliers make sure that they are innovative and mean something to customers.
So PLMA's study about today's primary shopper may help you plan your retail strategy. So for your own copy, contact us here at PLMA. You can email us at study@plma.com or give us a buzz at 212-972-3131. Very, very interesting stuff. So for Brian and myself, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time on our next edition of PLMA Live.